All right, I think I'm finally starting to get my voice back. It's not completely out of the woods. It switched from one side to the other as far as the pain goes. So, yeah. So I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful. But thought I'd weigh in on all these new Star Wars shows. And, some I find intriguing or interesting. Others, well, yeah, not so much. It's kind of, dead on arrival with me. But, maybe there's a little something for everybody. So, for their Investors Day, they revealed all their projects they have in the works and are on their way to coming out. Of course, more Mandalorian. That was a no-brainer. Some things had already been acknowledged and whatnot, which was Obi-Wan Kenobi. So that has my interest, although I'm hearing troubling things that they want it to be a feminist operation as well. So but then they, to get your interest in it, we're going to have a rematch with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. Now, I'm not sure how that plays in with what's been established. It seems like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader have not seen each other in a long while in New Hope, and so one could draw from that their final meeting was the battle on Mustafar in Revenge of the Sith. So now you got to be careful with this and weave that in there where it happens, because later on in Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan does mention, well, he's more machine than man now, but I mean, could it be because he's a Force ghost and he's already met him? He understands that now, or did he know this all along? And there's some amount of wiggle room. Yeah, maybe, but based on Disney's track record, there's a huge amount of concern there. I kind of wondered if they would do stories where Darth Vader is in the scene or what have you, but they don't actually meet or something like that. And Obi-Wan's hiding from him or whatever. And then will there be reasons for Obi-Wan has to leave Tatooine? Does Luke leave Tatooine? Goes on a trip with the family for something. And Obi-Wan's like, oh crap, I gotta watch over him, and follow him. And then this puts him at risk and everything. Other possibilities, but I imagine everything will revolve around him protecting Luke. And so, for whatever reason, that he may have to leave Tatooine briefly, and deal with whatever threats might, and eliminate them, and all that. Obviously, Hayden Christensen will be returning in the hopes that he'll get some justice out of it. He should have been in the sequel trilogy, but so many things should have happened in the sequel. Good Lord. But, yeah, so that's good for him, maybe, depending on how they mess it up, but it won't be his fault. And apparently, yeah, he'll take his helmet off and he'll be all scarred up and stuff, and we'll see, how Darth, was in those days. So apparently the story will take place, at least as far as their meeting goes, 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So there's another 10 years before New Hope. It's supposed to be about 20 years in between those chapters. So, okay, so I'll certainly give it a shot. I thought an Obi-Wan Kenobi film, or now I guess series or miniseries, was a no-brainer, and so finally here it is. And it was always in the works, but the sequel trilogy crashed and burned. Apparently there was supposed to be a pause on Star Wars, but good Lord, look at all this stuff. So there was and the idea that there was too many films with 5. Yeah, no, that wasn't the problem. I think we all know what the problem was. So the other ones, Lando, I'd heard rumors of that, so that appears to be true now. That'll be there. Andor, which I don't really have any interest in. I did like the back and forth between his character and the droid, but his story, I think, is fine with Rogue One. I think it's complete. But I mean, unless they got something supposed to be like espionage type deals, and keep in mind, he's a pretty dark character at the beginning, until his love for Jyn changes him into a better man. so, so I mean, I guess you say, well, there's aspects of his heroism in there, but he's also not above killing somebody for being a coward. So, so I don't know how they're going to handle that, especially for a Disney platform. But I'm not too optimistic on that one, and could take it or leave it. Just don't know. Bad Batch is a continuation of the animated series that they've had. I don't know. I'm only just now getting into those. I'm in the middle of season 2 of Clone Wars. So I don't know. I mean, by the time I'm finished with the Clone Wars and then I guess Rebels, Bad Batch will be in its 3rd season. I could start on that one. So I don't know. A droid story. I mean, they did something like this a while back in the old days, and R2D2 and C-3PO are these. They're not lead characters; they're supporting characters, and they do very well as that. And I always like that idea that Lucas, as he borrowed from so many sources, also the the samurai films and the what was it, Secret Fortress, with those 2 comical guys who were just witnesses to greatness. They're not the actual heroes of the story, but they are these witnesses to incredible events and that sort of thing. And I always like that about C-3PO and R2-D2. I don't know how much you get out of it. I think it'll just be a silly show and maybe something good for kids. But other than that, I'll probably pass on that one. Rangers of the New Republic, which I didn't watch the event, so I don't. Is it confirmed that Cara Dune will be a part of that? So that seems to be setting up within Mandalorian, as she's the marshal of that. I don't know whatever town it is in that planet, but so I'm certainly interested in that, especially if it involves her. And it's an interesting idea to expand on the aspects of what the New Republic is and how it polices itself. Ahsoka, of course, another no-brainer. I don't know if this is an ongoing series or a mini-series, depending on how much Rosario Dawson wants to commit to. But, if it's hugely successful and the paycheck's good, well, there you go. The thing about it is that a lot of people, especially Doomcock and what have you, have pointed out that the style of the logo, and the way I have it here is just the letters and the font, but the little designs they had behind it, very reminiscent of the World Between Worlds, which introduced time travel to Star Wars, and many hoping that that'll be a device used to retcon the sequel trilogy into non-existence. And that means there's another story, perhaps just restore the expanded universe, which is now called Legends, but that will be the canon of what happened to Luke, Leia, and Han and all that. And then they can go forward from there. I don't know, perhaps do an animated series telling those stories. They could do that. But it's still a hard thing to pass. They had that moment of a Beatles reunion, and they pooped the bed. It's an astounding failure that is still going to sting for a very long time. But for a new audience, and with shows like Mandalorian, even though it's really quite simple, and it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a good and sometimes fun show. So you can have a franchise just out of that alone. It just won't be as big as it once was, but that's possible. Rogue Squadron, which came out of nowhere, did not know about this, with Patty Jenkins to do it. And some people are suggesting that the Wonder Woman 84 movie must be so bad that she's jumping ship. And well, we'll see. I certainly hope not. I liked what Patty did with Wonder Woman. I'm hoping Wonder Woman 84. I know there's some Trumpisms in it, and that's just a bad idea all around. Hopefully it's really to a minimum and just kind of a little gag. But, of course, the preaching about 80s greed and whatnot, as if the 80s invented greed or something. It's a tired old story. Having been in the 80s by now, I'm so sick to death of it. So, Yeah, that could drag it down. Hopefully there's enough just basic Wonder Woman action adventure and superheroics, and her personal story with Steve Trevor and all that wins over. And we'll see. But I think this is an offer on her because of her rising prominence within the industry, that she gets a deal like this. So we'll see how that turns out. Star Wars Visions, I'll check it out. I'm not a big anime fan, but still, some good things can come out of it. I do kind of like the idea of an anthology type deal where you get these stories so that some may be terrible, some may be really good. So it's something, to check out. The biggest hard pass is Acolyte. Yes, I am not interested in Harvey Weinstein's former assistant. Now, is the Acolyte someone who is turning a blind eye to a nasty Lord of the Sith who's committing all terrible crimes, and she just keeps it quiet and enables it? Oh, well, then it might be quite interesting, but I don't care about that at all. The other project, of course, will be Taika Waititi's movie, and don't know much about that, but we'll see what he does. I enjoyed the Thor Ragnarok, but yeah, the silliness takes away from the very serious natures of it, and too much of it, and it's certainly within the mold of Guardians of the Galaxy, which I wasn't a big fan of. I did enjoy the second movie more than the first, but I don't know. That's just, he'll bring that to Star Wars, and it might work. Maybe that'll work better with a Star Wars environment, but we'll just have to see. So there we go. They have a lot of stuff in the works and on the way. Apparently there's a Boba Fett miniseries already underway, shooting and whatnot, and then there's rumors that Boba Fett will replace Pedro Pascal. I don't know. He did take his helmet off, so maybe all those stories weren't all that. But there's something too that he was upset and they had a clash. Plus, he's kind of a guest star in his own show in a lot of ways, and I could understand him being upset about that. But to the point that he gets fired, this is their big success right now. It's their only success right now. It's Mandalorian, and I don't know. And Boba Fett carrying it, well, we'll see, I guess. But because they're 2 seasons in, and the idea that each season would be a different Mandalorian, they could have done it like that. But might be a little too late, and you've already got this relationship between him and Baby Yoda, Grogu. I don't know that you want to mess that up. So then the other projects, it isn't all just Star Wars. No, there's Indiana Jones. Well, that's been talked about for a long time. It probably would have happened by now if not for whatever problems that came up about it. And so they Harrison Ford's not getting any younger, and so this will round out his story. I don't know what they'll be doing unless he's going to find the lost city of Atlantis or something like that. And that'll round it out, and then I'm sure they'll recast the role at some point. There were rumors about Chris Pratt taking it over and doing new stories. Now that he's been canceled, apparently, because, Christians and all that, and he won't identify his actual politics, so you have to state your allegiance or you're canceled. So, but that would be a real cool signal if they actually did that. It's hard to replace a beloved star that made the franchise and stuff like that, but it's already been done with the young Indiana Jones series. So if they want to continue it, and if they think there's something there and someone has some cool story, we'll look at it, but it has more potential of failure than not. So there you go. The other thing, which I'd heard kind of joked about, that's how they got Ron Howard to take over Solo, was to promise him that he'll get the continuation of Willow. Now, I liked Willow. It was, it wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it's a fun movie. I particularly liked the soundtrack by James Horner, and the performances were great and all that. But we still got Warwick Davis, and I kind of wondered if he would be training a new wizard or something like that in it, which maybe he gets the treatment that Luke Skywalker should have gotten all these years later. And so I am looking forward to that one. I see what happens with it, and maybe that, because I kind of wonder, had it been more successful, and I kind of wonder, I mean, obviously if it had been more successful, there would have been sequels and continuations of that, but a lot of it was like it was basically another Star Wars, just without science fiction stuff. Which is, like Star Wars has more in common with Lord of the Rings than it does with Star Trek. So but there was a lot of elements in it. He's like, well, that's just what George is doing here and there, But look, it can't just be Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. Hey, here's another medieval fantasy type story of wizards and goblins and fairies and stuff like that, and knights. And yeah, we'll see how that turns out. That looks interesting. We'll see where it goes. So there you go. That's my little summation of what Lucasfilm has in store. It's not all bad. It would be so much better if they hadn't just absolutely destroyed, badly wounded the Star Wars, which I don't think it can ever be restored to what it once was. But in a roundabout way, something new can grow out of it with successful properties like Mandalorian. So, maybe that can work out. But it's always going to have a bitter taste to it. For old fans like me who remember what it once was. And so some of these, if it doesn't measure up, if any of it kind of poops the bed, I'm out, and of course everyone's made total notice. None of this, seemingly on the surface of it, connects to the sequel trilogy. There's no further adventures of Poe Dameron or any of that. Probably couldn't get him back. That actor seems like he's done. That doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any more of that. They had a cartoon or something, but yeah, no one cared. Although there seemed to be some elements within Mandalorian, I thought, oh no, is it linking up to the whole Snoke story and everything? Hopefully not. I don't know about World Between Worlds, retconning the thing. I'd be all for it, but I just don't know that they'll even bother. Right now, I think they're just going to do what's popular and do these other stories. And look, Darth Vader's coming back, so, and stuff like that. Which business-wise, I perfectly understand, but it's still not really enough to make up for what happened. It's just too bad. So anyway, yeah, I'll be checking out some of these. One in particular, no. And we'll see what they do with Star Wars. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.